She walked through that door with some startling new revelation. You know everything that I know.
Chief, this is a non-progress report.
I know. All we've got is what the preliminary investigation turned up. One knife, no prints, no witnesses, one suspect.
Well, I really can't believe that Kelly McGrath killed Elliot Dorn.
Why not? Because it's too easy? The more I think about the idea, the more it grows on me. The boy certainly had the motive.
Nah, he just got upset because Elliot made a pass at his girlfriend.
Yeah, well, people have been killed for a lot less. And what is this I hear about a discrepancy about his puppets?
Well, he said that he had a dozen puppets on hand at the club, but when the bartender brought them up for him to take home, there were only 11.
You don't think that might be significant?
Kelly said he probably miscounted.
Yeah, well, what if there were 12? What if the murderer removed one from the premises?
Yeah, I suppose a cloth hand puppet could serve the same purpose as a glove.
I think it might be worth looking into, Mr. McGrath's puppets.
Chief, before I do that, there's something I'd like to check out. I can do that right now.
What's that?
Well, you said earlier at the Unicorn that you might have been one of the last people to see Elliot alive. Could you explain that to me?
Yeah, I suppose I ought to make a statement for the record. All right, you listening?
Always listening.
Last night around 11 o'clock, Elliot Dorn showed up at my front door. He was looking for Raven Swift. Raven was with me, as it seems. And Elliot was not too pleased about that, so there was a little bit of a verbal scene. Raven was quite indignant about Elliot tracking her down like that, and I didn't appreciate him barging in on us. But he only stayed about 5 minutes. He told Raven he was going back to his office. There was a document he had to get out of his safe, that he would see her in court in the morning, and then he left.
A document? What does that mean?
Wait a minute. Yes, Helen. We'll send her in. Guess who?
I should have known.
Raven, what do you want?
Well, it looks like Deborah will finally get a chance to show her stuff in a real case. Since you're so good at solving crimes, who killed Elliot Dorn? So, Derek, I assume that you have assigned your ace detective to the case.
Deborah Saxon is a member of the investigative team, yeah?
Great, then this case should be cracked in no time.
Thank you for the vote of confidence, Raven.
You're welcome. I just know that you have a gift for minding other people's business, so it should be a cinch for you to get to the bottom of this.
I'm going to do my best.
Do you have any leads?
That information is strictly confidential, at least for the time being.
As a matter of fact, Raven, I do have one suspect. And I'm going to do everything in my power to bring that person to justice as soon as possible.
Wonderful. Why don't you start tracking down this nefarious person so Derek and I can have a private conversation?
In a minute. I think if I'm going to conduct a thorough investigation, though, I should ask you a couple of questions.
You want a statement from me? What do I have to say to you?
I don't know. You were a very good friend of Elliot's.
Yes, I was a good friend. A long time ago.
So when was the last time you saw him?
Look, you'll just have to take my word for it that I have nothing to tell you that might help you crack this case. And as much as I would like to have a chat, I cannot give you any statements because I have to be in the courtroom in an hour.
Oh, all right. Then I will see you at your house later this afternoon, maybe this evening.
Don't bother. I have nothing to say.
Nothing to say? Nothing to say to me.
Will you leave me alone?
You know, refusing to cooperate could be considered obstruction of justice.
Derek, do I have to stand here and take this harassment?
All right, Detective. I'll take care of getting Raven's statement.
Lots of luck.
It's tougher than I thought going back to the inn. Being inside that place really gave me the creeps.
Well, it was right that you told the police everything that happened last night.
You sure asked me an awful lot of questions.
That's routine.
Well, thanks for going with me, Nancy. Having you by my side made me feel a lot better.
I'm glad I went too.
If the police ask me any more questions, I want to be sure I have Mike by my side. Because after what I told him today, I must be pretty high on their suspect list.
You can't be sure of that, Kelly.
Well, I did have the fight with Elliot Dorn.
That was unfortunate.
I still have my key to the place, too. Which means that I could have snuck back in after hours and...
Kelly, once you were home, you stayed. I can attest to that.
Yeah, but the police must be thinking that I had a motive and an opportunity. That's enough for them to arrest me, isn't it?
They're not going to do any such thing. They're going to find the guilty person.
I had absolutely nothing to do with Elliot Dorn's murder, Nancy. Now, yeah, I hope that you believe that.
I do. But what upsets me is that you're under such a strain.
The longer this investigation goes on, the greater the probability that the local police are going to find out about what happened in Rome, and I don't want to have that happen, Nancy.
That's it. Okay. I know you want to bury that in the past.
You wouldn't tell them about that, would you?
Oh, no, of course I wouldn't volunteer that information, Kelly. There isn't any reason to.
Thanks, Nancy. I guess I better check on the puppets here. We're gonna have to start auditioning again pretty soon. Let's see what kind of shape they're in. Wait a minute. So that's it.
What's the matter?
I know I had 12 puppets at the disco. I was just looking through my book. I know I had 12.
But there are only 11 here.
No, I had 12. Remember that red-headed clown puppet?
Oh, yes.
It's gone. Keep it together. Your timing's off, Dorn. Come on, count! All right, everybody keep working.
Jody, I want to talk to you for a second. What's the matter? Your energy level is low, your concentration is gone?
I know. I have a lot of things on my mind.
Well, you had a pretty rough shock last night.
I know. I just can't believe Elliot Dorn is dead.
Believe it.
The way he died, my God, Gavin, he was murdered.
You read about things like this happening every day. Unfortunately, we live in a very violent world.
It just seems so different when you know the person. It's so real and ugly.
Well, there seem to be a lot of people around here who say it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Well, I don't care what they say. It just seems so terrible.
And I don't mean to sound insensitive, but from what little I know the guy, he will have a very small funeral.
I suppose. How could anybody hate somebody so much that they'd want to kill them?
Dorn seemed to bring out the worst in people. It seemed like just a matter of time before somebody fixed his wagon.
Oh, hi, Gavin.
Hey.
Well, Jody, how are you feeling?
Oh, a little shaken up.
Well, if you came here to do some exercise, join the line.
No, I'm not putting on any warm-up clothes today. I'm here on official business. I got to get Jody's version of what happened last night.
Well, do you have to do it right now? She's still very shaken up.
Unfortunately, yeah, it has to be right now. Look, we'll just take it real slow. Relax.
All right, I'll get back to my class. I don't want to see any police brutality around here.
Come on, pull up a chair.
Well, what do you want to know, Calvin? Or should I say Detective Stoner?
No, actually, yeah. Calvin will do just fine. All I want you to do is tell me what happened in this fight between Kelly and Elliot
Well,
last
it
night.
wasn't Kelly's fault.
No? Well, what precipitated it?
Elliot Dorn made a pass at me.
And Kelly didn't take very kindly to that, huh?
Well, Kelly's told Elliot before just to leave me alone, but Elliot Dorn had a one-track mind.
I see. So in spite of his objections, he continued to harass you?
Yeah. Only last night was really the worst. Elliot had been drinking.
Well, even I thought with the way he was coming on to me that he was going to get to know me better. Better than I wanted him to.
And, Kelly came to your rescue, is that it?
Yeah. God, you should have seen the fight they had. Kelly threw a punch at Mr. Dorn and knocked him right down.
But the fight didn't end there, did it? I mean, Kelly came at him again, right? Really blew his top?
Well, yeah, he lost his temper.
Completely uncontrolled, would you say?
No, now, wait a second. I didn't mean to make it sound as if Kelly was some sort of a wild man. He was just protecting me. Kelly was provoked. He's not a violent person. He's really very, very gentle.
Okay.
Calvin, if you have some sort of idea that Kelly went back to the Unicorn and killed Elliot Dorn in cold blood, you're wrong. It's just not possible.
Jody, I don't think anything right now. I'm just asking questions.
You really get into these cases, don't you?
I just have this big thing about the Ten Commandments, you know, especially the one that says, thou shalt not kill.
Well, I hope you get your man.
We will. Look, as long as I'm here, I might as well tell you. Until this case is solved, I won't have much time for classes.
Well, you ought to stop in and do some exercises. It'll be good for keeping the tension of the job away from you and loosening your muscles.
Well, I don't know. I might.
Can I ask you a question?
Shoot.
Well, I've been hearing some scuttlebutt, and do you really think that Kelly McGrath is the man you're looking for?
Gavin, this investigation is strictly confidential.
Well, wouldn't about an opinion?
Well, I don't really have enough information to have an opinion one way or the other.
You know, Kelly is not one of my favorite people, but I never thought to peg him as the killer type.
Gavin, there is no such thing as the killer type.
Now, that's your psych classes showing through.
Look, the jails are full of people who are up for murder, and they're all types, from professional hitmen to little old ladies.
Okay, I get your point.
I mean, you just can't tell what somebody's like on the inside based on what they're like on the outside.
You're not going to get any argument from me about that.
How this got to be a bestseller, I'll never know. Hello.
How's my little angel Martine doing?
Sky, I finally hear from you. Where are you, at the airport?
I'm sorry to disappoint you, babe. I'm still at my hotel in Paris.
But I thought you were arriving today.
Well, I hitched developing the deal I was working with that repertory company, and I'm going to have to stick around a little bit and smooth the director's ruffled feathers. It can't be helped.
So, when I will be seeing you now?
Well, I'll catch the very first supersonic jet I can. It won't be more than a day or two. Do you miss me?
Of course I do. Listen, how can you do this to me, leaving me stranded like this?
I know Monticello isn't Rome or Paris or New York, but it's a pretty big little town. You'll manage.
I'm bored stiff. I was considering scrubbing the floors to give myself something to do. And that's not funny.
That'll be the day.
Oh, yes?
Well, listen, why don't you make the best of the situation? Go out and do something.
Like what?
How about shopping? That usually manages to amuse you. I think most of my accounts are still open at the stores.
You know I hate to do things by myself, and I don't know a soul here.
Then read a good book. Or clear some space and do your exercises. That'll kill some time and it'll be good for you.
I'm going to hate it here. I just know it.
Look, Sherry, there are things I've got to do. I try to have fun.
Listen.
I'll call you tonight.
Listen.
Au revoir.
Listen, Sky. Have fun. I just can't stand it. Work out here. I just can't. I need space. Studios. Could it be him?
Oh, hey, Red, what's up?
What are you hypnotized by these dancers or what?
It's kind of hard standing on the sidelines, you know?
Look, I gotta talk to you.
What are you all hipped up
I
about?
just came from the chief's office.
Yeah, don't tell me there's been a break in the Dawn case already.
No, not yet, but we're getting close. I came across a fascinating piece of information.
Oh, yeah? Let's have it.
You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Guess where Elliot went when he left the Unicorn last night?
Where?
To Derek's apartment.
Wow. What do you want to talk to him for?
He was trying to catch Raven and the chief together.
Good old Elliot, a creep to the very end.
Okay, listen to this. Right before he left, they had an argument. He said he was going back to the Unicorn to get a document, and he would see Raven in court.
Wonder how we're going to find out what that means.
Let's get on over to the Unicorn and try to find it ourselves.
After you.
Don't be so gloomy. You lose this case, nobody's going to jail.
Oh, hey, what is this talking about losing? What kind of attorneys are you, anyway?
We're depressed attorneys. We only got one more witness left. Not you, boss.
Please, don't remind me.
Let's go and take a place.
See ya.
We should have made a copy of that damn letter before Raven got her hands on it. No sense beating ourselves up. We didn't realize it was going to be that important.
Well, it would have made all the difference in this trial because it would have helped prove that she didn't want the baby.
You know, it's so unfair. The life of one little boy is revolving around one little piece of paper.
Leases, bills, insurance policy, and about $500 in cash. That's it?
Well, I don't think the motive could have been robbery anyway, even if the killer had opened the safe.
Oh, well, the safe was shut tight as a drum when Elliot was killed.
All I can find here is paper clips and rubber bands and a couple of notes, bills. That's it.
You know, Red, I'm not really sure this makes any sense at all. I mean, we didn't find anything the first time we went through, and so what? Elliot mentioned a document.
It was just a peculiar time to mention it, Calvin, that's all.
If there had been a special document, the killer might have taken it with him.
You know, that's the second time you've done that.
Done what?
Said him. What kind of a sexist remark is that, anyway? Why couldn't the killer have been a woman?
Mr. Nelson, are you prepared to call your next witness?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. We'd like to call Mr. Logan Swift at this time.
Mr. Logan Swift, please take the stand. Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name.
Logan Swift.
Be seated.
Mr. Swift, you're the district attorney in Monticello.
Yes, I am.
It's a very responsible position.
I would say that, yes.
The chief prosecuting attorney in Monticello, very aware of justice, aware of the difference between truth and falsehood.
Objection, Your Honor. I'm sure the court is well aware of the function of Mr. Swift's office.
Your Honor, it is just part of the characterization of the witness.
Judge, we readily concede that Mr. Swift is in favor of truth and justice and the American flag and motherhood.
Your Honor, I think...
Let's do without this colloquy, gentlemen, if you don't mind. You may proceed with your questions, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Swift, you're aware that law and custom usually favor the mother in a child custody suit, aren't you?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
And yet, you are suing for custody of your child because you believe it's in his best interest.
Yes, I do.
You honestly feel that Raven Swift is not capable of raising a healthy, happy, normal child, correct?
No, I do not.
Would you please tell the court the circumstances which led to the separation between you and your wife?
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel's trying to change this into a divorce proceeding.
Yes, Mr. Nelson, I still fail to see how this question applies to the welfare of the child.
Well, surely, Your Honor, if we could establish infidelity in the case of Mrs. Swift...
Your Honor, we request a ruling.
I'll sustain the objection.
Yes, Your Honor. All right, just before your separation, where was your baby Jamie at that time?
My wife had arranged for friends of ours to look after him, the Scotts. She was supposed to have joined me on a campaign tour that I was making.
Ah, but you didn't. Why not?
She was busy.
Objection?
All right. I'll withdraw the question. Now, after the separation from your wife, she went off to London. She left the baby with the Scotts, correct?
That's correct.
What did you do when you found out about that?
Well, I went to the Scotts, to my friend, Mr. Scott, and found that she had literally given the baby to them to raise as their own.
Objection, Your Honor. There's absolutely no proof of this contention.
The objection is overruled, Mr. Rutledge.
Thank you, Your Honor. Go on, Mr. Swift.
Well, I asked Mr. Scott to return my son to me, and he, of course, agreed. I then took Jamie to my apartment, where I made suitable accommodations for competent daycare.
Where he would have remained had Mrs. Swift not come back from London and abducted him from you.
Objection, Your Honor.
All right. Had Mrs. Swift not come back and taken the baby from you without your knowledge or permission, correct?
She took him from Monticello General just as he was due to be discharged after an illness. I cannot fault the hospital for this. They were simply following established procedure. But there's no question that it was underhanded on the part of my wife.
Did you try to repossess your son by similar underhanded methods?
No, I did not.
Well, isn't it common in cases such as these that the parents would simply kidnap their baby back again? I'm sure you must have run into similar situations while you were district attorney.
It does happen. There were 4 such cases in Monticello this year.
Yet you chose to come to the courts to solve your problem.
That's correct.
Why? You knew the odds were against you. I mean, you're certainly aware of custom here, and you're aware of the prejudice that exists in the court.
Mr. Nelson, please.
Oh, Your Honor, that wasn't a personal attack. It's just that it is true. Mr. Swift is a member of our profession. He knows that the courts operate under a philosophy that women are better parents than men, however erroneous that philosophy may be. Yet he chose to come into court here rather than to commit a crime.
Objection, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I feel
simple testimony.
I feel that this man should have the right to say what he feels about his son. He should have the right to speak up. He should have the right to say why he is a better parent. And I think for the sake of Jamie Swift, he should be able to say it now.
Well, the court has no objection to hearing a statement from the father, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Go on.
I know it is very unusual for the father to be the person that raises a child, but it is being done, and it can be done well if there is enough love. I love Jamie. I love him very much, and I do not believe that he can get that kind of love in the custody of his mother. I won't speak against her. She is what she is. I accepted that. I married her. We had a child together. But my son caused me to see my wife differently. The fact that she and I are wrong for each other as husband and wife is of no consequence. What's important is that she is the wrong mother for that little boy. I do not believe that she loves him. Perhaps she doesn't even love herself. I don't know. I do know that you will be harming 2 lives if you grant custody to her. Now, one of them doesn't matter that much. My life is not the issue here, but Jamie's life matters. It matters very much. Well, it's hard enough to get through this world as it is without love. It's almost impossible.
Yes, a glass of white wine, please.
I'll have the same.
Just a glass of tomato juice.
Give me the menus, meanwhile.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't believe it, but I am very hungry. I suppose I shouldn't be after what happened in court today.
Well, nothing's really happened, April. Trial isn't over yet.
Come on, I think it went very well for us. Logan made a fine statement. He was very impressive.
Made me want to cry.
Yes.
I don't blame you. It was very sad. And the saddest part of it was that Logan, he looked like he already lost the case.
Don't say that. They haven't even brought in a verdict.
And it's not going to come in for a couple of days. No, what evidence was presented today, Judge Lewis is going to have to look at, and it's going to take quite a while before he makes his decision.
Draper, if you ask me, I think he already made that decision the first day of the trial, and he's just waiting to make it look like he's taken time to consider the whole thing.
April, that's not true. Judge Lewis is a good man. He just wants to make sure that what is done right.
Well, Draper, what do you think he is going to do? What kind of chance does Logan have?
Nancy, I don't like to make predictions. Logan made a fine statement. He looked like he obviously believed what he was saying. All right, you want the truth. The rules of evidence apply in a custody case just the same way they do in any other trial. But where was it? Where was the evidence that proved Raven an unfit mother?
I know where it is. Or I know where it went. God, I hate myself so much for what happened to that letter because I was so stupid. No, I was trusting. I was naive. I should have known better. I should have known not to let Raven get within 10 feet of that letter. Look, I'm sorry. No more about the end. Forget it.
Look, Draper, could I talk to you about something? I know we all have Logan on our minds, but I am a little concerned about something else.
Sure. Yeah.
It's my nephew, Kelly.
Are you upset because he lost his job?
Well, honey, everybody at the Unicorn lost their job because of Elliot's death.
I can't accept he's been murdered. And so violently. Just like my mother.
Well, it's probably a needless death, too. I mean, let's face it.
Oh, thank you.
They're probably going to find out that the murderer was a drunk or an addict or something.
Yeah, that's right. That's what Mike said when I talked to him a little while ago. He said probably we won't have anything to be concerned about in just a matter of a day or two.
What are you talking about being concerned? Why? What's the matter?
Last night, Kelly had a fight with Elliot Dorn. Now, I'm not talking about a quarrel. I'm talking about a fight, a violent one.
Did he tell anybody about this?
Yes, he went to the police with it. I went with him.
Why was it violent?
Well, it had something to do with Nicole's sister, Jody. You know, she was a waitress at the Unicorn, and apparently Elliot was becoming a bit too familiar with her, and Kelly didn't like it. So he attacked Elliot, and Elliot wound up being slightly injured, and Kelly without a job.
And then Dorn wound up dead. Look, Nancy, are you afraid that Kelly might be implicated in this, that he might even be considered a suspect?
Yes, I am.
Wow. Well, in that case, I'd love to talk to him.
Thank you, Draper. I really would appreciate that. Mike would, except he's not here, so...
Certainly.
Thank you.
Hey, boss. I'd be careful if I were you.
What are you talking about?
Well, you know, you're wearing your heart on your sleeve, and it shows. Here's to you, boss. You were terrific in that courtroom. You had him eating out of your hand. Thanks, Deb.
Too bad the spectators can't decide the case.
Hey, come on, Judge Lewis had to be touched. I was touched. I was blubbering all over my notes.
It's funny. I don't even remember what I said. Not a word.
I'll tell you, it was terrific. Take my word for it.
It won't do any good. You take my word for that.
Hey, what do you mean? Come on. The game isn't over till the last man is out. You know that.
The last man is out, Cliff. We've run out of witnesses. We're going to run out of rabbits. We've run out of hats. When court reconvenes after lunch, I think you should rest the case. That way we can all go home.
Do you want to go home without your son?
I have a choice.
Hey, Scarlett! Scarlett! Come on, over here.
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
Well, afternoon, counselors.
Hi, Calvin.
Logan, you been in court all day?
Oh, yes. Why don't you two join us? That way I can hear somebody else talk, other than my lawyer.
Well, actually, we've only got time for a sandwich or something. Deborah and I are still on duty.
Well, look, why don't you join us? I'll pay for the sandwich.
With an offer like that, how can we refuse?
How's the Dorn case going? About to crack it?
Oh, look, if you find out who did it, give him my card, okay?
Thanks a lot. I wouldn't hold your breath, Cliff. All those announcements about an imminent arrest are just department propaganda. Actually, we haven't got a clue.
Come on, you must have some suspects. This guy must have had an enemy list longer than this menu.
Well, it's true he had a lot of enemies, but I just don't know anybody who hated him enough to stab him in the back. Do you?
My name would be on that list, though. You want my alibi now or later?
Come to think of it, where were you when you got it, Logan?
Calvin, stop it.
Hey, look, you don't think that Logan would... Hey, you know, maybe you better take this card. You have the right to remain silent until I get there.
I don't think so.
Well, guess what we've been doing all morning? We've been going through Elliot's office.
Looking for the clues.
Yeah, the whole place has been gone over thoroughly for fingerprints and that kind of stuff.
Hey, you know, maybe you've probably found 1,000 of them in a disco. We should have gone over for footprints. Disco footprints?
Yeah, Cliff.
Actually, what we were looking for was a mysterious document that we heard about.
Who'd you hear about that from?
Actually, this particular clue came from your wife.
Raven, you're kidding.
Calvin, I don't think we ought to get into this right now.
It's a little late, I'd say. You're into it. What does Raven have to do with all this?
Well, actually, it was what Elliot said to her the night he was killed. He said he was going back to his office to get a document and that he would see her in court.
Right. It was the chief himself who overheard this little exchange. But if there was a document of any significance there, we certainly didn't recognize it.
Yeah, or the killer could have taken it away with him.
Or with her.
Well, I know where I want to start looking for a new job. Close to Gavin's studio.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You have to stay close to dear old Gavin.
Well, I just don't want to have to walk a lot of blocks every day or take a half-an-hour bus ride back and forth.
Well, you may not have much luck finding a job in this neighborhood. At least you have a better chance than I will.
You're not going to try and work for another disco, are you?
Well, sure. I'll work anywhere out where I can perform with the Poco Puppets. Do you realize something? When I'm unemployed, there are over 50 puppets out of work.
Oh, well, maybe they can collect unemployment insurance.
No, you can't stand in line.
Oh, yeah, that could be a problem.
Well, finding a job for me may not be much of a problem any longer. Might be making big ones into little ones.
Big what into what?
I'm sorry, it's just an expression. Breaking big rocks into little rocks, like in a penitentiary.
What are you talking about?
Jody, hasn't it occurred to you that somebody might think that I... Never mind, I shouldn't be joking about it.
Kelly, you don't think that... Now, that's ridiculous. How could somebody think that you had something to do with what happened to Elliot Dorn?
You were with me, Jody. You saw what happened last night.
Kelly, I was also there when you left. You took me home. Kelly, you didn't go back to the Unicorn, did you? I mean, you told me you changed your mind about going back there.
Yes, I changed my mind after I got there. Well, when I got to the door, I turned around and walked away.
But Kelly, you're worrying about absolutely nothing.
But just in case, do you promise you'll come visit me if I end up in jail?
Oh, stop being silly.
No. Will you bake me a big cake with a file in it?
You're funny, Kelly. You're also crazy, though. You do know that.
So you don't think I have any problem at all, huh?
Well, of course not. Kelly, I'm sure you're not the only person that had a fight with Elliot Dorn. Just like I'm not the only girl he ever... You know, I just realized something. I never said thank you.
What for?
Well, even though you should have never gotten that violent, you know what you did for me. And I guess I should say thank you, and I never have.
It's never too late, you know.
Well, I just said it. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I guess you're standing too far away.
Thank you.
All rise. Be seated.
Mr. Nelson, do you wish to call any other witnesses? Oh, Counselor, I asked you a question.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Do you wish to call any other witnesses?
We have no further witnesses at this time, Your Honor.
Then you are prepared to rest your case?
No, Your Honor. At this time, I'd like to ask for a continuance.
Well, for what purpose, Mr. Nelson?
Well, we have discovered some new evidence which we think may be pertinent to this case.
Your Honor, is there any reason to delay these painful proceedings any longer
Just
than necessary?
one moment, please, Mr. Rutledge. Mr. Nelson, what is the nature of this evidence that you have uncovered?
Well, I'm not really free to divulge the nature of it, but I can assure you that it will certainly be pertinent to the case, Your Honor.
Cliff, what are you doing?
Well, all that I'm asking is some time to examine whether or not this evidence will come to light. Surely in a case involving a child's life, one day wouldn't matter.
All right, Mr. Nelson. I don't think any great harm can be caused by a delay of one day in this matter.
Your Honor, this is nothing more than an attempt to stall the inevitable. And it's really most unfair to my client, who's been...
But your client already has possession of the child, Mr. Rutledge. Now, I think we can grant Mr. Swift and his attorney one more day. Yeah, this court will stand adjourned until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
All rise.
What is going on here? What are they trying to do?
I haven't the slightest idea.
Would it be too much trouble for you to tell me precisely what the hell you are doing? We have no new evidence. You're only going to make a bad situation much worse.
Yes, but we are going to have evidence by tomorrow morning. Remember what Scarlett said about Elliot Dorn having some sort of document?
Yeah, what about it?
I'll bet you that document is Raven's letter.
Seems as though a harmony is hard to find, always on my mind, and frustrated days pass without sight, the edge of night, half dark, half light. Do you think we might wake up someday and be aware of all the games people play? Living circles of unending strife as we look for light, and nothing is wrong and nothing is right.